Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Gary here. It's a Monday. Hope you all had a nice weekend. Let's see, the title of this show today, I don't know what I'm going to call it. It's going to be a bunch of different topics, but we'll call it entitlement. That's a good name for it, entitlement. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I did because I've got a few viewers that said, hey, why do you call yourself Butcher Boy? And I get, some of the people that subscribe to my channel here in Cincinnati locally that asked me, they know what I did, but they said, hey, can you talk a little bit more about that? I said, sure. So when I first started with my company, that was back in 1987, and it was in a store in a really affluent area of town. In a village called Indian Hill. And Indian Hill is, I think the median home income is like $300,000 a year, clear on up to $10 million a year. Doctors, lawyers, people with old money, generational wealth, that's Indian Hill. Entitlement, So I was in this one location with my company for about a year and a half before I got moved. And I was a brand new employee. What I saw there was a lot of old money. The people some of the shoppers were flat out rude. And I mean, if you've ever been around the general public and in service industries, you know what I'm talking about. If you're out there listening to, whether it's in restaurants or whether in grocery stores, whether it be in hardware stores, anything retail or service industry, the ones that come in there, they think their shit doesn't stink and they look down their nose at you. Those are the entitled ones, which doesn't always mean they're happy, which is kind of the point I want to make today, is because in my time with my company, I was in a bunch of stores. I was in like 10, 15 stores, something like that. I moved a bunch. And I'll go into that in a second. But the nicer stores, the more affluent areas of towns, I was probably in 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 locations were really nice areas in the tri-state area, because I was over in northern Kentucky and I was in Indiana for a short period of time. Where the median house income in some of the areas was like $200,000 a year. Wasn't like Indian Hill where I started. But they come in there and they'd be snapping their fingers, people. They would want their shit and they would want it right and they would want it now. And if something was in the ads for sale and you didn't have it, they gave you all kinds of shit. They said, oh, I'm going to talk to the president of this company. Where's your store manager? Oh man, they give you a rash of shit because, well, they're entitled. They got a lot of money. There was a guy that worked with me in this store. I was in the seafood shop. I started out as a bagger, but then I got promoted to seafood because they needed some clerks in seafood. And I was good at seafood. I'd been around my whole life, but growing up out east. And so there was a guy that worked in my department that he went to one of the local high schools in the area. He went to Indian Hill High School. And I got to know this guy. And I stayed in touch with him through the years. He was a trust fund child. He was a trust fund baby. His mom and dad had old money. They didn't work. Everything he got was given to him. His parents made him get a job in the summertime to try to broaden his maturity before he went off to college. Well, my mom and dad, this guy's name was Rodney. And he goes, Gary, my mom and dad want me to get a job. They want me to, get some responsibilities. And so I'll do whatever they say. They're paying for my college. And to make a long story short, because there's a lot of content in here today, I ran into Rodney about 8 years ago. And he's the same old, same old. I saw where he lived at the time. You should have seen this house. You go off a main road, it was off the main road about a quarter mile, surrounded by fences and land, big mansion, and he lived there with his parents. He was the only child. His feet never touched the ground, and he was miserable. I saw him about 8 years ago. He was in his third marriage and divorce. He was getting ready to get divorced again. He looked like crap. His face was all puffy and red. He said he drank too much. He gambled too much. He was real honest with me about his life. He goes, yeah, my life hadn't turned out the way I wanted to, Gary. It just didn't turn out the way I wanted to. All that money. So money doesn't buy happiness, and the entitled the communities. And I'm speaking. I'm using a giant paintbrush because not all rich people are asswipes. But this guy, you know, it was my experience with him. He wasn't a bad person, but he wasn't happy. And some of the people that shopped at my store, they weren't nice to me because they were entitled, you know. So shifting gears, my next position was in another affluent area town, and I learned more there. And I wanted to move up with the company. And I said to my store manager at the time, I said, I want to go as high as I can in this company, make the most money as a union employee. And where can I go? And he said, meat department. So that's when I signed up for the meat department. I got a job in the meat department. Started at the bottom, moved my way up. Once I started really rolling, I was in my fourth store because I was a company man. Whatever they asked me to do, I did. If they wanted me to go over there, I went. No questions. Okay, give me my schedule, give me the department head's name and the phone number of the store so I can get my schedule. I'll go. When do you want me to start? Monday? Okay, I'll be there Monday. That's how I was. I mean, it was a good job, and I was towing the company line because I figured if I tow the company line, and I'll move up and they'll promote me. Well, somewhere along the line, I pissed this guy off. He was in charge of moving people. His name was Bob. He's deceased now. Couldn't happen to a better guy. You can see how I felt about him. But he didn't like me. He couldn't stand me. And I don't know why. He just didn't like me. I never did anything to him. I think because he knew somebody in one of the stores I worked in that didn't like me, who was a boss, and so they were buddies. And so he saw I wasn't a manager yet. I was just a clerk. I was just a punk. Every time I turned around, he was moving me. And he was moving me to really crappy areas of town. He was moving me to first of the month stores. And if people listening to this don't know what a first of the month store is, that's the people that are on welfare and Social Security. They live paycheck to paycheck. They're underprivileged. They grew up in the hood. They grew up in an area of town that was just less than. And, white trash, black trash. I mean, that was the style of people that shop in these stores. And so I went, in my time with the company, I was in 1, 2, 3, 4 locations that were like that. And the first time I got moved, it was an inner city store. And this store had a reputation, a real bad reputation. And when I got moved, I was one of 2 white guys in that meat department. Everybody else was black. And I was a minority in that department. And before I went to that store, I had people warning me, say, "Oh, you're not going to like that place. That place is in a war zone." I didn't know what I was getting into. But I figured, I'll go. Hey, they want me to go. As long as they pay me on Thursday, I'll go. Sure. What time, where do you want me to start? Blah, blah. I went. I'll tell you, I've shared this story with people to this day. And it's funny, the wisdom we obtain the older we get. The stores that were considered first of the month stores, and they were in rough areas of town, the people treated me like gold. The workers treated me like gold, especially the shoppers treated me like gold. If I was out of a product, if there was something on sale and I was out of it, I'll give you an example. I had this lady one day. I was there for a week. We had some steaks on sale, and we were running low. And by the end of my shift, we were completely out of them. And this little old lady walked up to me. She goes, "You got any more of these steaks?" I said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. We just ran out about an hour ago." And I said, "I apologize. I was just trying to be very apologetic." And she put her hand on my arm and she goes, "Don't worry, baby. I'll find something else." Just like that. I was like, wow. I've never heard that before. I said, "Well, thank you for being understanding." She goes, "No problem. Have a nice day." And then started to walk away. She turned around. She said, "You're new here, aren't you?" I said, yeah. She goes, you're not from around here, are you? I said, no, I live over in Oakley. She goes, oh, okay. You're going to learn a whole new vocabulary up in here. That's what she said to me. From that day forward, and I was in that store for a year and 5 months, was the best experience of my entire career. They took me in. The shoppers, the employees. Was it a rough store? Yes. Did I ever fear for my life? No. I walked out to my car. I would see people scrapping in the parking lot sometimes. I got approached by a prostitute one night when I was walking out to my car. Excuse me, sir, but you got a couple dollars. I'll do anything for it. I'll do anything for it. I mean, I was in the hood. But I said, I'm sorry, I don't carry cash, but good luck. And she goes, okay, thank you. And she walked away. The prostitute said, no, okay, thank you. She wasn't a prostitute. She was probably a crackhead. But either way, I was in the hood. It was the best experience of my entire life because I was able to compare entitled versus people don't have shit. They struggle, they take a bus or they walk to the store. They live 8 or 9 families per house, white and black families, all jammed into this area of town that was just downtrodden and poor. And no one ever looked down their nose at me. No one ever treated me like shit. It was bittersweet when I left there because I went from that store to another store that was similar to that store. And it was bittersweet. So, and I'm sure there's people out there listening to this program that work in retail, have worked in retail or still work in retail. And they may be younger than me. They haven't seen that correlation. They haven't seen that comparison yet. And give it time because you'll find, and I have found, the lower the class of people in any given area, the lower income, the people on welfare, the people living on Social Security, people living on food assistance, food stamps, those people are struggling, and it breaks my heart to see it. And they treat you like gold. They're so sweet to you. Not all of them. I'd say 95% of them were. Very understanding. No problems. No problems. But going back to really quickly, because I don't want to make this long. I want to get off of here soon. It's like going to 12 minutes. I could have had more content, but I gotta cook dinner tonight. The lady that said to me, you're going to learn a whole new vocabulary. The following week, we had sirloins on sale. Sirloin steaks on sale, and they were going in one bunker. And then we had T-bone steaks, and they were going in another bunker. And this guy and his wife came up to me the day of the sale. The sales always start on Monday or Tuesday, right in there, depending upon the store. And this lady came up to me and she said, and she had the ad in her hand, a big old piece of paper. She had an ad in her hand. And she goes, excuse me, sir. I said, yeah, how can I help you? She goes, you got any of them sirloin steaks? I said, what? She goes, you got any of them sirloin steaks? I said, sirloin? Sirloin? She goes, sirloin steaks. And she's pointing to the ad, the picture. It was sirloin steaks. That's how she pronounced sirloin, sirloin. You got some of them sirloins? And so everywhere I went from that store after, I would share that story. I had people in my own community in Oakley where I live. I say, hey, some sirloin. And it was an inside joke. It was funny as hell. I'd never heard anything like that before. And then her husband, in the same breath, there's no lie, her husband walked over to me and he was standing in front of the bunker where the T-bones were supposed to go. We didn't have any out yet. We were working on cutting some. He goes, man, you got any T-bones? I'm thinking, I heard bones. Can you say that one more time? Because you got some of them T-bones. I said, T-bones? He goes, yeah, T-bone. He said, T-bone. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I had to learn a whole new vocabulary in that store in the hood. And It was white trash. I mean, the white trash was the worst. They had no teeth, no teeth, and they're probably from Eastern Appalachia. You know, the Appalachians came over from the mountains, and they came into the city because they had nowhere else to live. Tattoos all over their face. Yeah. Hey, you learn a whole new thing when you work around first of the month stores. But looking back, like I said, looking back, it was the best experience with my company. I would do it again. And I'll tell you something else. There's people now to this day that work in more affluent areas, whether it be the company I used to work for or other companies similar to the company I used to work for, that, or even hardware stores, not hardware stores, but other grocery chains that are sprawled out around all the competition we had like four other grocery chains that were competition. They should move their people. They should move. It would make them a better, more seasoned employee because they know what it's like to work at this level and they know how to work at this level. To work with the entitled people and the people that don't have a pot to piss in, a window to throw it out of, or a yard to catch it. I learned a lot. Anyway, that's all I got. I'm going to jump up off of here and make myself some sideline steaks. I bought some sideline steaks today. I'm going to throw them on the grill. It's like 72 degrees here today. And I know it's going to be cold as tits tomorrow, so I'm going to take advantage of today because I love sirloin steaks. I'm going to put some sideline steaks on the grill. Sidelines. Anyway, that's all I got. Have a great night wherever you live, wherever you are. Take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks for stopping by. Peace out.